So I'm going to have some additional features that you don't have as far as listing input goes. I have the ability to transfer agents and listings. That's something that administrative folks in the office can do, so please ignore those two entries down there. But let's just go right into the add edit feature. So it's pretty simple, just kind of walking through the steps. Input, add edit. So once you go to add edit, a couple of things you'll be able to do. At the bottom, you'll have a roster section, and that'll be where you'll be able to upload your photo and things like that if you have not done that already. So if that's something you need to do, that's where you would do it. Again, I've got some additional features there, but in your world, you'll only have the ability to go in and make some minor changes like adding your photo to your record from there, which you should do anyway. But the top part is where we're going to talk about listing input. And really, it's as simple as kind of narrowing your choices down. And here's what I mean by that. So your choices are A, add a new listing, or B, edit an existing listing. So let's go back to our original scenario again. I'm going to go and add a listing from scratch into the system. So I really only have one option here. It's called Add New, right? So I'm going to click Add New. And I've made it past the first step. Now, step number 2 is going to provide you with 8 different property types you're going to put that listing in to Matrix, whether it be residential or commercial or mobile home or recreational listing. Pick the one that is appropriate to what you're doing. So now you've got a 1 in 8 chance of getting to the next step. Click there, and that'll get you to the third and final step to starting a listing, and there's 3 ways to do that. Now, 3 ways to do that is, number 1, you can start with a blank listing. And what that means is that you're starting with no information other than the agent ID that's inputting this listing in. So again, it's me that's doing it. So at this point, I don't want to do that because there's a better way to do that to start. So blank listing, you can start that way, but not recommended. Copying or cloning a listing based on your business rules, where if you're listing relisting a property of yours, that would save you some typing. You could go back and reference the old MLS number and bring in some of that information. That's another way, and that's probably not a common thing, but still it is available if that opportunity presents itself. But the way that comes up by default, meaning that's the way that you first see it, is going in and filling the listing information in, or auto-populating, as we call it, auto-pop from short, from the Realist tax records. So why is that valuable? Well, number 1, it's bringing in information into your listing from the tax records, which is going to save you some typing, and it's also going to help keep the data accurate if everybody will do that. So there's 3 ways to find that listing. First of all, San Bernardino County is the county that's there, so that's all you have to choose from there. But you can look up the property by tax number, by address, or by owner name. So most of the time I would have to assume that if you're listing this property, you know the address. So you just simply come in here and type in the address. It's not case sensitive, just as long as you know the street number and the street name, type it in, then just simply click search. And if that property is in San Bernardino County and it's in the Realist tax records, which it should be, it'll say, here's the property. Here's the APN number, here's the address, the city, the county, and the zip code. So just, again, cross-reference that that's the property, that's your listing, based on, in this case, the address, and you'll see a fill option over here. Click fill. That process now takes that information, certain pieces of information from Realist, and brings it into your residential listing input form. Now you look at it and you go, well, I don't see any of that information, Jay. What value did you show in that? Well, you'll see that in just a second. But the big thing the hurdle to get over here is that in the input in Matrix, we don't have a one long form you have to scroll down through eternity. Matrix is broken down into short, sweet little tabs, or kind of bite-sized bits of information, if you will, kind of like different pages, if you will. So consider the agent information, page 1. And page 1 is not very big. Page 1 has got just a couple of bits of information. Everything that's in yellow is required, so you have to fill it in, and at least all of the required fields before you could actually submit the listing. It's just very similar to what you had before, right? So it knows that I'm the listing agent because I'm the person that's starting this listing. But if I'm inputting this listing for an agent in an office, I would just simply click Find a Listing, do a search for their office ID or their name, and I would autofill that information just like I did with the Realist tax record. So instead of looking for an address, I look for a person. Same thing applies if I have a co-listing agent that I'm putting on this listing. I would search for his or her name, and I would go ahead and make sure both of those names are on the listing. Notice co-listing agent is not required because it's not something that happens all the time. So we can't make that required. Listing agent required, and the commissionable rate and the information down here is required. I'm not going to fill every single field in here for you guys. I mean, this is something that you'd be looking off a listing input form or a profile sheet and filling in. But I just want to show you the workflow. So the workflow, page 1, fill in the required fields. And after you do that, just go to the next page and see the information that's on that page or that tab or that section, however you want to call it. Once again, required fields are highlighted in yellow. Go through and either pick from a list or type the information in that's appropriate, or check from the appropriate options you have in the box. It's not hard, it's just different. So just go ahead and fill in the required information as you see fit. Now, notice that there are some fields that are not required. Obviously, that's up to you. Notice, though, all of the personal information and the physical address, if you will, of the property is listed here, and that came from tax. 923 Sherwood Boulevard, Big Bear City, California, zip code, county. There's the tax ID, so we're good there. So that's where you're going to see some of that information, and, of course, the year built and the owner name. So you can see certain fields that were auto-populated from tax, and that's why I suggest you start from there, because you just saved yourself some time here. So a good way to do that. Now, you'll notice that the map shows that it's not found. Well, the address is there. Why don't I see the map? Well, to make the map populate or put the pin where it needs to be, look at the map icon and find the words below that say Update Map. Click there. Matrix will go ahead and plot that property based on the address that was auto-populated on the left. So now there's a marker on the map, right? So just that quick, just that easy. Automatically, we auto-populated the address for you. Now, you know what? There's really nothing you need to do with mapping at that point if you don't want to. If you trust that that pin is in the correct place, you don't have to do anything. But you know what? If I'm listing this property, I'm going to make double sure that that pin is on the parcel that it is supposed to be on. And the way you can do that is to go down below the picture, and the second line down will say set latitude, longitude manually. Now, why would you have to use that? Well, first of all, let's say it didn't put the pin on the map and it said it couldn't be found. Well, then you would manually go to the map and place the pin where it needs to be. But in this example, it found it, but I want to double check it. So I'm going to go set latitude and longitude manually. Matrix is going to pull up a map for you, and it's going to probably by default give you the road views. Okay, well, that's good. You can zoom in a little bit. And in this example here, you know, if you're listing the property, you've been out there. It's the third house in, you know, off Sherwood. So it looks like the pin is in the right place. If you want to really make sure of that, switch over to the aerial views and just, you know, verify, hey, yeah, that's the house. I remember it's set way back in there. It's kind of a narrow lot. So now you've kind of done that double check, if you will. Now, if you want to, again, do a triple check, simply click on that parcel where the pin is located, and it will show you the address of that parcel, and it will also show you the owner. So now, not only are you sure that the pin is in the right place because you've been there, but you can also validate it this way. And this is a good way too. You know, let's say you're not putting your own listing in, you're putting listings in for other agents. This is another way that if you've never been out there, because you're an admin and you're doing this as a listing coordinator, this way you can kind of double check that just by, you have the address. This just kind of confirms that that's the correct address on 923 West Sherwood Boulevard. So let's say that that is not right. Well, notice it says place new pin. Click there and then place the pin on the parcel where it is supposed to be. So in other words, you can change this. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So if it's not right, fix it. If it's right, click done. If it's not right, fix it and click done. And now you have double checked to make sure that that pin is plotted where it needs to be. So that's kind of the first step. But Matrix offers you something that you did not have before, and that was Google Street Views. So if you've been playing in Matrix already, maybe you've looked at a map and you've noticed that there, at times where available, is a tab that says Google Street Views where you can see the property from the road. Well, I've now gone in and made sure that that property is pinned in the correct place, but before I make this listing active, I want to make sure that Google has got their street view correct, okay? So how do I do that? Well, again, down below the map, the last entry will say choose Google Street View. Now, if there is no Google Street View, this will be grayed out. This one happens to have a Google Street View, so I click it. And what it's going to do, it's going to show me the view that Google has provided for that particular home. Well, that's really not the view that I want because that house looks like it's sitting in the middle of the road and pointing, off Sherwood. So I, as a listing agent, will not accept that because that's not what I want other agents or buyers to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that view that Google is providing by default, and I'm going to go and I'm going to search for the house. And, oh, my golly, there it is right there. It's that little green house right back down there. So now I've taken this and I've positioned the Google Street View where I want it to be, not where Google provided it to me. You following me here? So I can go ahead, just like I can plot the pin on the parcel, I can also modify the default Google Street View. Now, this may be the view you want. You may want to zoom in a little bit, maybe a little bit more. Maybe you want to zoom out. Again, that's up to you. You probably don't want to go too far because, you know what, that trash doesn't look real good there. So maybe you want to zoom in a little bit and just kind of frame this the way that you want to. You pick the Google Street View that you want Matrix to display for other agents looking at this property and buyers to see when they're sent the property on their client portal. So you have control over this. So you can fix what Google didn't quite get right. When you do that, click OK, and you've now changed that. Just X out of there, and you have now done two things to make your property better than when you started the day. You've made sure the pin is where it needs to be on the parcel, and you fixed the Google Street View. That should take you just a couple of seconds to do. It's going to benefit you in the long run, trust me. The rest of this is simply filling out the blanks. Notice the total square foot lot, auto-populated from tax. And by the way, all of this is editable if there is a glaring error from the tax records. Go to the room and info. Now, this is interesting because here are your rooms. Again, interior features. Pick the appropriate options that apply for this particular listing. So again, bedrooms, baths, number of rooms, things like that. Sometimes there's yes, no. Sometimes it's not applicable. Notice there's really not anything required here. But you know what? Do you really do it that way? If it's got a fireplace, tell me about it. If it's got, this, that, tell me about it. Again, that's up to you. Exterior features. Now you've got a couple of different options here. So you've got construction types. You've got your, particular features here. Pick and choose whatever works best for you. And then finally, the last page, the remarks. These are the public remarks. There is a 1,000-character limit here, and it will have spell check available. So if you come in here and type something wrong, like I purposely typed in the word dog with 2 G's, it underlines it, and it gives me the ability to fix it. So we do have a character limit of 1,000 under the public remarks with spell check, 1,000 under the confidential remarks with spell check, 1,000 under the syndication remarks with spell check. And then if you use any virtual tours, video links, or you use the 360 links, those are URLs. You simply copy and paste them from that provider. If you do a virtual tour, they give you a link, and you just copy and paste that right into here. So again, it's a matter of filling out the pages or the form, but instead of being a long form up and down, it's broken into these little tabs or these sections that you see right here. Now, matrix testing, you're not going to see. I do this because I have to test this. I'm showing you how to use this listing form, so I have to put a test in there. And again, just going back through here, and you won't ever have that test option, so don't worry about that. So I'm going to go through and just kind of backtrack my way through the process now. So I obviously did not fill in all the required fields. So I've got a couple of choices here. At this point, I can say, you know what? I'm just going to cancel. I don't want to do this anymore. Cancel will cancel all your work, and basically you just erased everything that you did. If you're curious to see how far along you are in this process, in other words, have you filled out all the required fields or not? All you have to do is come over and click Validate. When you click Validate, you will notice that there are red exclamation points all over the place. Why? I didn't fill in all the required fields. So if I go to a section, notice the required fields, didn't fill in, didn't fill in, didn't fill in. So anytime that you want to see how much work you got left, or if you've completed the minimum amount of information, just click Validate anytime you want, and we'll tell you what you have to finish to be able to, at minimum, submit that listing. Now, if you try to submit the listing, it's going to give you the same errors anyway because you haven't gone and finished everything. So click Validate every so often and see what you got left if you just want to kind of check to see exactly where you are in the process. So again, very simple, very easy to use. Again, just make sure that you are filling in the required fields. Otherwise, again, you won't be able to submit the listing. So this point here, you'll notice that I have not finished the listing, which is obvious. So maybe at this point in time, I want to stop and do something else, or at this point in time, I don't have time to finish this. I want to save this listing and I want to come back and finish it later. Maybe I'm missing some required information, and instead of just, stopping and canceling it out and starting over again, I'm going to save it as an incomplete listing. Again, something that's not unfamiliar to most people. So I'm going to save it as an incomplete listing. Now, here's where Matrix has a big change as what you were used to. Notice that when I saved it, it tells me it's been saved as an incomplete, and it also has provided to me the MLS number for that listing. That's the number that is eventually going to be assigned to that listing when or if I submit that listing and make it active. Notice that the new sequence of the numbers are 3s at the beginning. So you had 2s before, now they're 3s. So sequentially, we're starting with a 3 now. Now, you'll also notice something different here is that at this point in time, maybe I don't have all the information to complete the listing, but I've got all the photos, or I have some attachments that I want to add to this listing. Well, previously, you had to submit the listing, make it active, and then add the photos, and then add the supplements. So what did that cause you? Well, it caused the listing to show up on a hot sheet with no pictures, right? It caused a listing to show up in an automated email where somebody had ASAP set to appear to a client with no pictures. That should never be a problem again, because you can save a listing as an incomplete, and then at this point, while it is still not visible in MLS yet, you can go ahead and you can add in the supplements, kind of get some stuff done before the listing is made active. Now with supplements can be up to 10 megabits in size, so you have a larger supplement than what you had before, and it's a matter of simply going out and browsing, finding the supplement, picking it from wherever you stored it, clicking Upload, and then clicking Save. Wash, rinse, and repeat. So those seller's disclosures, those lead paint addendums, whatever kind of supplement that you want to attach to this listing can be added before it's actually made active. What a novel concept. Same thing applies with photos. You've got the listing almost completed, and you want to go and add the photos in. Simply go and click Add Edit Photos. Find the photos. Again, the hardest part is where did you put the photos when you uploaded them. Your maximum photo count is now 50 photos. So you can have up to 50 photos. So if you've got listings out there today with less photos and you want to go ahead and upload more, feel free to do that. Maximum number is 50. The minimum size for photos is 1024 by 768. Now, keyword there is minimum size for photos. I didn't say that's the maximum size. So no longer do you have to resize your photos to get them under a certain limited matrix. We say, hey, give us a photo that's at least 1024 by 768 or larger. Larger the better. I mean, it's okay. We like those high-res photos. You can upload those now, but at least 1024 by 768 will be the size that shows up best in matrix. I've had, 3,000 by 2,800 pixel size photos uploaded. It works just fine. So where do you find the photos? You have to browse for them, right? Browse, find the photos. So let's just say that I'm uploading my photos. This is 47, 48, 49, 50. I'm not going to upload 50 photos, but just assume that I'm now uploading. What I'm trying to get a point here is you can grab multiple photos at one time up to 50, click open, and Matrix will suck those photos in for you in mass. So it's no longer one photo at a time. It's bring them all in at one time. And notice that it puts them in a nice little display. Notice the order of the photos, maybe not the way you want them. Primary photo, simply move it over, and now it's in the primary slot. If you want to adjust any other photos, just simply drag and drop them. How easy is that, right? Now, the other thing you should be, and notice it tells me I have 46, more photos to go. So, because this is 47, 48, 49, 50. So after you upload the photos, I encourage you to go and add in captions below the photos. If you remember the way it used to be done is you could add captions, but you also could pick a label. And the most popular labels we saw were what? Other and exterior front. So did you ever see a listing appear that exterior front was on every photo? I'm sure you have. Well, in Matrix, we don't have labels anymore. So how do you add captions to your photos? You go to the upper right-hand corner of the photo, click on it, look at the picture, and at the bottom of the screen, it's going to say enter description. Notice there are no labels anymore. So now you have up to 500 characters of captioning that you can place below each of the 50 photos that you've uploaded. Why would you want to do that? Well, think about you have 1,000 characters in the remarks field now. You're going to run out of room trying to describe that house. Why not take a picture and describe the picture, describe the view? Just think about it, 500 characters per picture times 50 pictures. Do the math. So take the time for quality pictures, take the time to describe it, paint a picture, tell a story, and don't have to worry about labels anymore. So instead of, let's say you had a wine cellar, before you couldn't find wine cellar, you had to type in other, and then you had to say wine cellar. If it's a wine cellar, type in wine cellar, dash, tell me about the wine cellar, or whatever the case may be. So again, that has spell check involved either, so there is no excuse for bad spelling. So again, please, you live in a great resort community, you've got people looking for homes, get some pictures in here, put some nice description text underneath it, market the property with the remarks underneath the pictures, because agents will see that, buyers will also be able to see that captioning. Now, as far as syndication goes, some syndication sites bring over the captions, some don't. I can't guarantee what does or what doesn't, but at least in Matrix and on the client portal, the buyers will be able to see those captions. Once you've uploaded the photos, click Save. You've now committed those photos to that particular listing, and you are now good to go for that. So again, you've now added the photos to an incomplete listing, and you've added the supplements to an incomplete listing. Remember, that listing is not yet visible in MLS until you finish it. So what a lot of people do is, even if they have all of the listing information ready, they get to the point where it's almost ready to submit, but they, again, save it as an incomplete, add the photos, add the supplements, and then after they do that, just click back on the listing number. That'll show you the listing, and you'll now notice there's a convenient little edit button right here. Simply click there, and if you have all the required fields filled out, click Submit. The listing will be submitted with that MLS number. The pictures will be there, and so will the attachments. It makes more sense, right? You put the horse before the cart instead of the cart before the horse like you had to before. So it's submitted, it's out there, it's good to go. Now, the other scenario was maybe you were missing some of that required information and you weren't yet ready to finish that listing because you were missing information, but you added the photos in, you added the supplements in. So how do you find that listing after the fact? Well, you have a little widget now on your homepage of Matrix that will say incomplete listings. Simply click on the incomplete listings link, find that property that you want to finish in your list, simply click on the listing, and once again, look, there's that simple edit button. Click there, and boom, you're ready to go. Now you'll notice again, that was an incomplete listing. So when I click there, notice the status is I, incomplete. Nobody can search for that listing doing an MLS number search. Nobody can search for it by address because it is not yet active in the system, but it is available to you to finish. Click on the number, click on edit, and we're right back to where we were before. Now we can finish the required information, we can submit the listing, and we are off to the races from there. So that's how you go ahead and finish that listing that way. Let's say that you started a listing, but you did not put in the pictures yet or the supplements, and you need to do that after the fact. So how do you do that? Go up to the Input tab again, click on Edit, and what you'll have here, which I don't have, is a drop-down list, and you'll be able to see all of your listings, and you'll be able to pick the listing that you want to work with. Again, since I don't have any active listings in here, it doesn't really apply to me. So that will be pretty obvious to you that there will be a link, a drop-down list here that you'll be able to pick from and choose the incomplete or the active listing or whatever status it is. If you work in an office that you add or modify listings for agents, you will have first a link here that will show you the agent's name that you will pick first, and then as soon as you pick the name, you'll be able to pick the listings that that agent has in their inventory. So in my case, since I don't have any listings, I can pull up the listing that I just started a minute ago, type it in, click edit, didn't put enough zeros in, click edit, and still didn't put enough zeros in. So let me do that, 317-0006, hit enter, and now basically I'm at my screen again, and now all of the things that I can do here. Now there's some things I can do personally that you're not going to be able to do, but if you now have a listing that is currently active, let's say that was an active listing, notice your status changes are right over here. That listing was active, let's say it needs to go to backup. Simply click the appropriate link, fill in any required information, and click submit, and guess what? You're done. That's as easy as that goes, right? Let's say you've got a property that has to have a price change. Notice there's nothing here that says change price. How do you do that? You click on the input form, and you're right back to where you were before. So then you just go back to the general listing page. Whatever the price was, you put in the new price, you click submit, and that's how you change the price. So at the end of the day, what really happens here is if you're going to take a listing that is currently active, status changes are all clearly broken out for you. Anything other than a status change is done in the entire form itself. Only status changes are kind of right in front of you. Everything else, you go back into the initial form, make the changes, and resubmit it. By the way, if you've got an active listing out there now and you want to add some more photos to it, go to Manage Photos and upload 46 more photos if you want to. Or if you don't like the photos that are there, you can delete them and you can add new ones in if you want to. Or if you want to add some additional supplements, click there and add in the additional supplements as needed. So that's the process that works in Matrix as far as inputting a listing. Again, input, add edit, add new, or edit existing. Edit existing would be, adding photos, supplements, changing prices, changing statuses. Adding new is add new, pick the form, auto-populate from Real List, and then just walk through the steps like I showed you a minute ago. It's not hard. It's just different. Different is not hard. It's just different. If you want to review that in a video, I've got that for you also. If you go to the Help tab across the top of the screen, you will see that we have some training guides. That's our user manual. You'll find the steps in there. But what a lot of people like to do these days is they just like to watch a video. Think about it, right? You have something you have to get fixed around your house. What do? you probably go to YouTube and Google it, right, and find the YouTube video how to fix it. So we offer those YouTube videos for you here. Go to your video support. Go to the tutorials, and you'll happen to see an input tutorial right here. Click there. Look, we have a YouTube format. You can actually watch it in a YouTube format. And here it is right here. We'll walk you through in 6 minutes and 35 seconds how to input listings, change statuses, and do everything in Matrix. Look at the screen. It looks just like what I told you right there. There's plotting the property. There's a form. There's how you go and you add the pictures. There's you add the descriptions. Everything I talk to has a YouTube video. So we're used to going to YouTube to find stuff today. So guess what? We give you the same workflow here. We've got a lot of other videos here, so just keep that in mind. But just remember that listing input is available to you in a video. You can watch it as many times as you want. Start it, stop it, rewind it. It's all good to go from there. So that's all brand new for you today. The whole input process got lit up in Matrix this morning at 6:43 a.m. And I know because I got a text from the project manager this morning, and that can be done. And you know what? Let's see what people have done so far. I've actually created a hot sheet for today. I'm looking across all property types and everything in the past. Let's look at today. What's been done today? So far today, there's been one listing, 2 listings that have been added. Well, that's an active property. 1 expired, 1 had a price reduction, 2 have had holds put on them, 3 have backup offers, and 2 went pending. So there's been 11 people, or maybe in this case, maybe an agent that's done more than 1. There's been 11 different transactions already so far. So people are getting it. Yeah, that's all I can tell you. Here's an active listing that was put in today. Here's the listing. Look, the photos. Boom. There's all the photos. They got all that in today. That's great. Everything is good. So this is one that's actually been put in today. And if I look at the property history, this one was put in today at 10:03 a.m. And it's got all the pictures already, and it's got everything it needs to have in there at this point in time. So y'all are getting it. That's all I can say. And it is working at this point in time. So there is activity that is transpiring. It's just now done in Matrix. So there's our listing overview. Now you've got that done. Now let's take a look at how you can make things in Matrix kind of come into place. And what I mean by that is, just going in and searching is fairly simple. We'll review that in just a moment. But you kind of want to make sure that you have certain things in place. So when you start doing things like emailing and using the client portal, that this branding that you see across the top, this information over here is all set in place already. You also want to make sure that your email signature is set already. So there's some things that you want to kind of take care of ahead of time. Think about these as housekeeping item or punch list items, if you will. And I want to just show you where those are. And a lot of these things are kind of set it and forget it type of options. In other words, you do it once, you don't ever have to kind of worry about it again. Of course, there's a video for that too, and I'll refresh your memory where that is in just a minute. But here's where that information is found. And I'll walk you through it real quick, and then I'll show you where the video is. So notice the tabs across the top. We have a tab here called My Matrix. And the key here that I like to tell people is if you can't find something, look under My Matrix, because usually that's where we put it. So if you remember all the correspondence that was sent to you about saved searches being brought over and contacts being brought over, where are you going to find all that? My Matrix, contacts. Guess what? There's where all your contacts were brought over. What about those saved searches? My Matrix, saved searches. That's where all your saved searches were brought over. So if you're looking for stuff, chances are it's found under My Matrix. But the one thing we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about the settings area, because these are those settings that make Matrix kind of fall into place for you, for the lack of a better term. So My Matrix settings. So when you pull up the settings, you kind of see a little dashboard here. The top one is My Information. Just simply click on that, My Information. My Matrix, Settings, My Information. That'll bring you into a section that's got a bunch of tabs across the top, right here, tabs, little tabs, different pieces of the puzzle. So this kind of follows a natural progression. And the first tab you see is the most important. That's information. That's personal information about you that is used by Matrix. It only appears in Matrix. So your name, your email address, and maybe anything else that you want to put in here. Maybe you've got a website, or maybe you've got a slogan or a tagline that you want to use. Feel free. The more the merrier here, guys. Also, you'll notice that there is an override option over on these first three options: first name, last name, and public email address. Why would you want to override your name? Well, my mother-in-law's name is Patricia. She goes by Patty. Maybe that's your license on your name is Patricia, but people know you by Patty. Or maybe your name is Robert and you go by Bob or Rob. So Matrix is going to pull over anything that your license has on it. But maybe in Matrix you want to market yourself as Patty or Pat or whatever you want. You can click override and you can take J and turn it into Jason. Maybe people know me as Jason and not Jay. You can make that change and save that. And now everything that people see in Matrix, whether it's your client portal, which you can see here, or anything else that's got your name on it in Matrix, will then be whatever nicknames that you prefer. Doesn't change what's on your license, doesn't go back to the state, doesn't go back to the member records. It's just what you see in Matrix. It is recommended to use your roster values if available. These are roster values, but again, you can override the personal information you use. Please just make sure that all of this is correct. Make any additions that you need to do. If you make any changes, click Save. You're done. You don't ever have to worry about this again unless, of course, you change phone numbers or change this or change that. Then, of course, you would have to come back here. But 9 chances out of 10, set it and forget it. Remember this nice little header I keep talking about up here, this nice little American flag with all this information up here? When you are emailing to your clients and customers out of Matrix, Matrix creates this client portal that you see right here. This client portal is your branding. This is kind of like your own personal website, if you will. Whenever you send an email to a client, Matrix is going to create a portal which then will contain any emails and reports you send to them moving forward. It's going to contain any automated emails that you set up for them. It's going to contain their categorizing of properties that they tag as a favorite, a possibility, or a reject. It's going to contain all the notes that they send to you and that you send back to them. So here you have all the collaboration, if you will. And it's also going to allow them to do their own searches inside of your portal. So it's got an awful lot of stuff here that you're going to see come to fruition in just a couple of minutes. But I'm circling back around here just a minute because this header that you see here is part of the branding that you are responsible for. Now, there's three options you have. Don't use a header. Does it work? Sure. Does it look pretty? No, it's just a black bar across the top and that's it. It'll still function. You don't have to do it, but you know what? It's your branding, right? It's like your business card. You maybe have to jazz it up a little bit, right? You just don't have a business card with your name on it. It's just a white business card, right? You have your picture and a logo and stuff like that on it. So here's what you can do in Matrix. You go to the tab that says header and footer, and you will initially start out with three options. Choose not to use one at all. So here's what it's going to look like if I say don't use one, and hopefully this is going to refresh for me pretty quickly. So there's what a portal looks like if you choose not to do anything. It works. It just doesn't look as pretty as it could, right? Hey, you know what? If that's what you want to do, fine. Everything is good from there. But you probably want to take it up a level. So we have created about 8 templates that you can use. And you can pick one that works for you. So I'll switch over back to this one now. So I'm going to switch over to this one, going to click preview. And then it's going to preview what that looks like. Now, notice there's a picture over here, too. You can actually go and upload a picture of whoever you want, in my case, my family, and I can upload that picture directly into this little slot right here. Now, remember, all of this other information that you see here, my name, my slogan, my email address, my cell phone number, that all came from where? That first tab that you set up with all your information. That's why the first tab is the most important, and the next tab just kind of adds on to that. So you can use one of ours. So when I click Save, it will save it, and now when I go back to my client portal, notice now that it has a little bit of customization. So do nothing or use one of ours. Looks better than nothing. Now, let's say you're a creative person and you know how to use Photoshop, or someone in your office does, or you have a middle schooler that knows how to use Photoshop. They can actually go and create a custom header and footer for you. So that would require you on your own to create your own custom branding. It's a 1200 by 85 pixel image. You would create it in whatever software you use, or whatever that middle schooler is going to use. And then you would save that, and you would just simply browse, and you would attach that header to this, and then it would be customized for you or your office. So your choices are make your own, that's up to you, use one of ours, just pick it, save it, or don't use one at all, and it still works, but it doesn't look as pretty. And again, your choice there. Now, also on that header and footer, you'll notice that when you choose a header or footer from your list, that will also be available when you print out reports. So this header that you see here applies on the client portal, which you see here. This one you can use on the top of your printed report. So if you're going to print out a client report, you can actually check a box, and when you print out the report, that header will appear across the top of the page, so you get some benefits of branding on the printed reports that you're going to be using, so you have the ability to do that also. So again, that's the header and footer. Again, key information comes from the first tab, and then it's available here. Now, Matrix also works on mobile devices. So let's say that you're sending your client information through the portal, but they're opening it up on a smartphone. Smartphone is not designed to have all of this crammed into a 4.5-inch screen. So there's a mobile version of that. So instead of seeing this big header crammed onto a smartphone, we actually create a header that fits on a smartphone. So where I'm circling right now, think about that being on the top banner of somebody looking at a smartphone. It's less graphic heavy. It's just another way for you to, keep that branding on a mobile device as it is on a desktop, laptop, or tablet. Once again, you can upload a custom photo here if you want. It can be the same one. It can be different. It's up to you. And notice the 4 elements here. This information is available, once again, from this first tab. So this tab, again, gives the information that is available here. So my name, my zip, my address, my website address, things like that. So you pick, the 4 pieces of information that actually fit on here. Click Save, and you just created a mobile header. Set it, forget it, don't worry about it. In Matrix, you can create a CMA. CMA has a cover page that sits on top. Here's what elements of your branding appear on the cover page. Your contact information, once again, you can use the same photo, or you can change to a different photo if you want to do that. This, again, set it, forget it, don't ever worry about it again. But just make sure it's in place, because if you're starting to create your first CMA in Matrix and you don't have a picture or logo there, well, maybe you're not branding yourself as well as you could. Maybe there's contact information that you didn't put here. Again, you're not branding yourself as good as you possibly could. Now, back to the portal again. Over here on the left-hand side, you see a little box with information. It's got my name, it's got my logo, my slogan, if you will. It's got my number, my website address, my email address, and it's also got links to my office listings, my listings, and so on. So this little corner of information right here comes from this tab right here. Notice the information here is the same information that I see here. So you kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together, and again, the information is available with the options here that you included when you added all that information there. Again, set it, forget it, and you're done. Your email signature, that's important because you want to make sure your email signature pops out. You can use standard formatting. You can change the size of your name to something bigger. You can add in different colors to your name if you want to. You can make your name in italics if you want to. And you also can add in pictures and logos to your email signature. So if you want to have your company logo or your picture appear, feel free to do that. And then finally, if you are using an agent web page that you created in ML Exchange or Fusion, and you'll know because you would have had to create it in there. This is something that was designed, again, in ML Exchange and or Fusion. You have the ability to create an agent web page in Matrix. That's the good news. The bad news is you have to recreate it again. So it's as simple as going in and saying, enable your web page, and then you have to build your web page. It's a little bit easier than what you had before because it's not multiple pages. It's more or less one big page. But you will be able to insert things like YouTube videos into your website, which you couldn't do before. So you have a little bit more, technical capability here, but it's not as robust. In fact, it could look something like this. And here is a YouTube video that I put in there. Again, it looks like the portal, but it is a website that you can then share with clients and customers using the web page address that you see here. And just like ML Exchange and Fusion, we provide this to you. We host the website, but your email address is whatever or the URL is whatever you put here and all of this. So if I were to say, hey, just go to my website, it's jmyers.bbv.mlsmatrix.com, that's a mouthful. So what many of you may have done is you may have gone and bought a domain from GoDaddy.com. Maybe you bought something that said, jsellsbigbear.com, and then you took this address and had that redirected to that. So when somebody went to jsellsbigbear.com, it actually looked at this address and then returned with this information here. If you have that currently working now, that web page is basically dead now. So you're going to have to choose this new address to redirect to. So if that affects you, just know that you have a different address where the website lives, and you do have to recreate the website in the Matrix system. All of this information here, all of these tabs that you are able to work with in Matrix, we have a help video for. So if you go back to help again and go back to those video tutorials, remember what I told you earlier, think about how things are done today. If you want to know how to change a distributor cap on a car, you go and you YouTube it, right? So here again, you go to help, you go to the video tutorials, and we actually have a video called Matrix New User. That video will walk you through, again, in a YouTube format, it will walk you through all the different things that you need to do to set it up. Here's the headers and footers. There's the CMA cover sheet. There's the email signature. So things like that, here's the agent web page. All of this information here is available in a video tutorial for you. So please go ahead and watch that and, go back, revisit what we talked about. The first thing you really should be doing in Matrix is going into this video. It's 13 minutes long. Put all those pieces of the puzzle together, and then when you start using Matrix, you will notice that things like your email signature and your portal and things like that look like they should, versus if you didn't do any of this, it's going to look like you've got gaps out there. So help, video tutorials, Matrix New User, and walk through those steps that you find under My Matrix and under Settings. It will tell you all of this stuff here. So you can always go back and revisit everything that I have talked about today. So again, that's the second thing off our checklist, because many of you are new users today. Many of you have maybe played around in Matrix but haven't really, got to set things up yet. So now this will be your next task that you need to do. And then, of course, the people that are going to be inputting listings and changing listings, you now know how to do that live in Matrix. So we've kind of covered some of the new stuff here. Now let's circle back around and cover some of the older stuff that you may or may not have remembered from training, or maybe you didn't come to training and you're kind of looking at this for the first time. Regardless, we're going to take just a quick little search print email tour, and then we will move on to something else. So here's what I want to focus on. You can get to the ability to print or email in many different ways. If you've ever used, say, Google Maps on your phone, and you're going from point A to point B, there may be times where they say there's different routes that get you to the same place, right? You may want to take this freeway, or you may want to take this freeway, or something like that. Matrix uses that same mentality. If you go and let's say you run a hot sheet. So if I run a hot sheet and I pull up my search results and I click a result, notice that my email and print option is right down here at the bottom of the screen. So here's my path to get there. Here are my print and email options. So now let's say I'm looking at a market watch. I open it up. I click the property. I see my email and print options down on the bottom of the screen. There's my destination, but I got there a different way. Let's say that I went in and I did a search and it was one of my favorite searches that I've saved. I open it up. I get my results. I pick the properties that I want to use. Notice my email and print option down on the bottom of the screen. So I've taken 3 different paths, but at the end of the day, the ability to print and email is always going to be in the same place, and it's going to work exactly the same no matter how you get there. So let's get there using a simple fill-in-the-blank search. So there's a tab right to the left of home called Search. Here you have all your property types. Remember when we put a listing in, we had to put it under that property type. Remember the first thing we did was we went to Add New, and then we had 8 different choices: residential, lot land, commercial, lease, and so on. So when we're searching, we're going to search within that property type to isolate that particular property. Now, there may be times where you want to search for more than one property type at the same time. Maybe you've got a buyer looking maybe for some maybe for some land to build on, and maybe they're also looking for an existing property. Instead of doing one search under residential and doing another search under land, why not just go to what we call the cross-property search? And when I use the cross-property search, I then can select to search residential and lot and land simultaneously. So now when I get my results in Big Bear City, you'll notice that I've got a bunch of land here. And then as I move on down the list, now I've got some residential property. So I was able to do 2 things at one time versus doing one property type, then coming back and doing another, simply by using the cross-property search and picking the property types that I was interested in. I could pick them all if I wanted to, or I could pick any ones that, I wanted to there. So don't forget, cross-property allows you to do more than one property type search at one time if you want to do that. Let's use kind of the old common, though, residential search. When you go to residential, you've got 2 search forms to work with. You've got a quick form and a detailed form. Here's how I equate these. Here's the 1040 easy. Here's the 1040. Okay, what's the difference between them? One's got more boxes to fill out. So the residential quick form is kind of like the 1040 easy form. It's just a limited number of search fields to work with. Status, property type, area, price, bedrooms, bathrooms, stories, year-built garage. I tell you, most of you probably can get out the door with just that. There's just a few fields that people use. This kind of gets you in and out. Because remember, you never want to over-search yourself because it's always garbage in, garbage out. You have to rely on the listing agent to actually put something in before you can actually find it. So think of the quick search as kind of the 1040 easy. So then what is the detailed search? The detailed search is the 1040 form. There you've got all the elements of the quick search, but you also have additional search filters like parking, roads, frontage, topography, view. If you need all those, go to the detailed form. If you don't, use the quick form. Regardless of what form you use, you always have the option of going down to the bottom of the screen and adding or removing any fields that are not on the form that you see above the gray line. Just simply go to Add, Remove. Let's say that there is a field you're looking for that talks about, cooling system. Double-click it, move it from the left to the right. Go back, and now at the bottom of the screen, you'll be able to choose a particular cooling system that you're looking for. So the thing that makes this a little bit different than what you were used to before you could go back in, pull up the form, and, search with what was presented for you. And then at the bottom of the screen, let's say in Fusion, there was a thing that said additional fields, and you would have to add those fields in. But if you wanted those fields to be there the next time that you came back, you would have to actually save that form and give it a name, whereas in Matrix, once you add that field, it's going to be there for you next time you come back. The old set it and forget it type of an analogy. So I just added cooling, right? So now, let's say I come back another day. I go back home again. Now I go back into my detailed search again, click on my detailed search, and guess what's at the bottom of the screen? There's that cooling field again. Once you add it, it remains there as a template that you can use. If you remove it, it obviously goes away. So again, hopefully that will make your life a little bit easier. What I recommend people do is they look at the forms they use the most. And let's say you're doing a quick search and you go, yeah, you know what? About 90% of what I normally use is right there for me to use. But there's some things that I find myself using a lot. Go down to the bottom of the screen, add those fields in right now, and then next time you run a search, if you need that additional field, it'll be at the bottom of the screen. If you don't need it, you just don't scroll down as far. So do a little homework up front, get the templates the way you want them, and you're off to the races. So this is our simple fill-in-the-blank form. Excuse me. So when you're filling in the blank, it's not much different than what you did before. There's a couple of things that work a little bit different in Matrix. And once you get those remembered, if you will, and ingrained in memory, it'll be just another day. So status, active is there by default. And by the way, residential properties, there are 409 active properties there in case you're wondering. If you narrow that down to single family, you now have 381. So as you keep adding things in, Matrix keeps working its way and whittling away at your search results. If you're looking for other statuses other than active, maybe you're doing a comparative market analysis, and you're looking for active properties, but you're also going to pull up the sold properties. Click that sold status. Notice how now I went up to 1,026. Why did it go so high? Because it looked at all the properties that are currently active, and it added in all of the sold properties in the past 180 days. How do I know that? Because the date range by default is 6 months in arrears, 0-180. So we give you that number by default. If for whatever reason you want to go back less, maybe you want to go back 3 months, type in 0-90. 0-90 will take you back only 90 days, and now we're back to 683. If you want to see what's sold in the past 30 days, now we're down to 464. So you do the math, 464 minus the 381, and you'll get how many properties were sold. Or you just simply remove active, go to sold, and there's 83 properties, single family, sold everywhere in the past 30 days. I just want to make you aware of those dates because sometimes people click that and they get more or less than they are expecting. It's because there is a default date that's put in there for you. And you can clearly see as I walk down the list here, those dates get put in for you in certain areas. So if you don't like it, change it. If you like it, leave it alone. If you want to do more than one sub-property type at one time, maybe you want single family and condos, the problem you're going to have if you try to do one, the other is going to disappear, and you'll sit here and play tennis all day trying to get them both to stick. In Matrix, you have to actually use a function on your keyboard to make more than one item stick. It's the control key on your Windows or the command key on your Mac. Hold that key down while you select everything you want. When you're done, let go. Voila, they're done. If you want to remove something, click it again and remove it. If you forget that concept, click on the question mark, and the little question mark will bring up a cheat sheet for you, and it'll tell you exactly what I just told you. So if you get stuck, go to the question mark, and it'll 9 chances out of 10 help you solve your own problem. Before you call, before you get mad, before you call a number, before you email, before you look at the help documentation, click on the question mark first, and that sometimes helps. Same thing applies with areas. I'm just going to use Big Bear City here. Now I'm down to 83 as an example. You will see that there's a lot more here to look at. Pick whatever you want or select the ones that you want from the list. Price range, here again, that question mark is going to be very critical to you because here's how Matrix works. If you're looking for an exact match, Let's say you want properties only $200,000. Type in 200 and notice we have 0 matches. So the exact number gives you the exact price. If you're looking for something greater than $200,000, put a plus sign, 200 plus. Now we've got 55 properties. If you're looking for something less, put the minus sign. Now you have $200,000 or less. Again, that's how that works. And when you do a range, just like you write the number on a piece of paper where you're going between $200,000 and $300,000, you just put a dash in between there. So you can clearly see that there is a different way to do this. There's not the 2 boxes that you may be familiar with. And again, if you forget, remember the question mark. Click on the question mark. It will tell you the formatting that you need to use to make your search work for you. It's different, but once you get over the difference, you're going to get the same result. You just have to enter the information in the way that Matrix needs it to be recognized, and that's how it works from there. So what do you want with the 3+ bedrooms? 3+. 2+ bathrooms? 2+. That's how easy it is. So now we're down to 11 properties at this point in time. So our search was pretty simple. It was active listings, Big Bear City, single-family homes, price point between $200,000 and $300,000, has to have at least 3 total bedrooms, at least 2 or more total baths, and we have 11 properties to work with. You can do one of 2 things now. After you've put in your search criteria, you can just cut to the chase and go right to your results. Click on the Results tab on the top or the bottom, and it'll take you to your one-line display. Again, think about what we talked about earlier, the concept of different ways to get to the same point. This is just another route. It wasn't the hot sheet. It wasn't the favorite search. It wasn't the market watch. It was a fill-in-the-blank search. But look at the bottom of the screen. What do you see? Print email, print email. Got there from a different way, but again, you're going to always remember it's down here, and in just a minute I'll show you how it works. And if you can print or email from here, you can print or email from anywhere. If you decide that you want to see where these properties are spaced out on a map, click on the Map tab. We'll show you a map. You've got the nice little aerial view. You can also switch over to the road view if you prefer to do that. Of course, you can zoom in and you can zoom out. If you zoom in to a particular property, you will notice that you will see a couple of things. You will see all the parcel lines being displayed. If you click on any parcel, you can see who owns the property. So you can basically go through and walk the block, if you will. If you want to measure the lot dimensions, we also give you the ability to do that. In addition to doing things like that, we also have some additional layers here. You can put on things like flood zones. You can put on cities, zip codes, counties, unified school districts. Again, pick whatever boundary that you want. You can put points of interest on the map if you want to. You can also put on parcel characteristics. So if you want to look at all the owner names, you'll see all the owner names painting in the back. How big a building is sitting on that parcel? You can see that. How big are those lots? You can see that. So if you've ever played in RealList before, you get this concept because all of these layers were in RealList. They're now in Matrix. So guess what? You get the benefit of both worlds right now. And again, I get to all of this information by clicking on the Layers button, expanding whatever layer or information I want to see, and then choosing the options that work best for me. Let me go back to my results again real quick. Couple of things here. You can sort all of these columns. Click on the column header, in this case square foot. Goes from low to high. Click again from high to low. You can move columns around if you want to. Very easily, you can move them around if you need to. You can come in here and you can take columns and make them larger or smaller depending on what you want to do. And you can even add columns in here if you want to. The way you do that is you say, you know what, you've provided me with a bunch of columns here, but there's one column that I really need to see. And I'd like to be able to have that visible for me on my one-line results. You can do that. Take your cursor, put it in any gray area. And I like to use address because there's the most amount of gray area right here. Your cursor will go from a single hand, which means sort, to a four-headed monster. Click on that and simply insert the column that you want to add in. So you'll just scroll down here and say, you know what do I want to put in here? Maybe, I don't know, just you pick something, whatever you want here. Again, it's up to you. Maybe I want to use, city as an example. Click city, click apply, and it will go ahead and add that column in for you. And if you want to keep that column permanently, you just click on the little gear and you can say, set that as my default. So every time you run a search from that point going forward under a residential property type, it will remember that column that you just added. And of course, you can put that in any order that you want to. So the rule of thumb here is, look, if you don't want to add columns and you don't want to sort them, fine, don't do that. But if you want to go out there and do that, feel free to do that. And just like I can add columns, I can also remove them just as fast. So you can make Matrix look the way you want it to look when you do your search results by adding columns, deleting columns, moving them around, whatever works for you. Of course, if you click on any MLS number, you get what? The property, right? What you click is what you get. As you're looking at this property, this is the agent full report. You can look at this. Again, I'm not going to go through this one by one because this is pretty self-explanatory. If you need more information about a property, there's some tabs across the top. If you want to look at the property history, click there. This property was imported back in 2016 on November, and you can see the previous history is right up here. So there's a tab for property history, there's a tab for listing, there's a tab for property history, and there's also a tab for the photos. Remember, you're going to have 50 photos starting today, and remember, you have all of these labels underneath there. We now don't have the labels in, so either you put nothing there or you can actually type up to 500 characters of captioning to describe that. If you want to click on a picture, click on it, and you can zoom through the pictures. Now, notice this picture. It's a great picture, but it's got a lot of padding around it. It's like a mat on a picture frame, right? Well, the problem with this is you could not upload large pictures in Matrix. So in Matrix, remember the picture size is 1024 by 768. So pictures that are uploaded in Matrix starting today, moving forward with that larger size, will fill all of this white space for you. Nothing you can do about it now unless you delete all the photos of the current listing and upload brand new ones, which you're more than welcome to do. If they're 1024 by 768 in size, pixel, 1024 is this, 768 is this. This is a much smaller photo, so it's going to leave that matting. Again, moving forward, you could have a picture that takes up all of this space, which is going to look much better, in my opinion. And then when you go back to the listing again, real quick, a couple of other things. Of course, listing agent, co-listing agent, broker ID. You can click on these and see who the office is, see who the agent is. Also, you have some icons above. We do have the map where you can view the map to see where the property is located. We've talked about mapping before. There's the road view. There's the aerial view. Again, this is why it's important when you're inputting the listing that you make sure the pin is on the proper house so it maps properly here. And notice this one, the Google Street View. Wow, it kind of looks like that one we had earlier, right? Remember when I was showing input at the beginning of the class? Well, Google gave you that street view. That's not the house. Where's the house? Let's see. Oh, the house is right there. So this is a prime example of Google not providing the accurate image for you and you having the ability when you're inputting this listing to fix that, because if I would have fixed this, which I understand I couldn't do before today, but as of today, I could go back in and fix this, and instead of my buyers and listing agent and buyer's agents looking at this, I could fix this and make it look like this so it would come up pointing toward the right house and not have somebody trying to guess where this property is. So just remember that concept I told you, the little due diligence up front, making sure the Google Street View is pointing toward the house and making sure the map is pinned on the right parcel. Those are two things that now come into play here. Any virtual tours or any kind of media tours are these. If you don't know what one of these icons do, just hover over it. It'll tell you what it's going to do when you click on it. Of course, Real List Tax, click on the tax icon. Nothing changes there. You still get the same Real List form that you saw before, the same type of information there. And if you happen to see any discrepancy in this listing, there is a small little triangle right there. And when you click there, you can quickly send this concern to the office here, and they will go ahead and research it for you. So that's a way of kind of, some people call it the NARC button. Some people call it the discrepancy button. Whatever you want to call it, if you see something that's out of whack, you can report it from right here. We are encouraging you to go in and look at all of your listings that are in Matrix now and go ahead and verify the spelling of the street is correct. Because you know what, if you misspell something, it makes it harder for somebody to find something. So just go through and verify they're asking us to just say, look, make sure your listings have the correct spelling on the streets. Just double check your listings and just, make sure everything is where it needs to be from there. Now, I can go back to my single line display very quickly, or I can go back to any other type of view. We've got client views. We've got a nice little flyer view that you may want to use. We've got a flyer view created that's got 8 photos. So, you can pick and choose the view that looks best for you. And then that also applies with printing and emailing. So I've got this property up, and I'm going to go to my single line display. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, let's just assume I've looked at all these properties. Oh, and by the way, this one here has got attachments. If you click here, those are your PDF files that you'll be able to upload for the supplemental attachments that you have. So if I go to this one here, it looks like there's a lead paint addendum. It opens it up in a simple PDF file, and there's my lead paint addendum right there. So again, just very similar to what you had before. We did bring over those attachments. Obviously, you can see that here. So now that I've got a couple of properties, let's just say that I've picked a couple of these now, and I want to go ahead and share these with my client. I can either print that or I can email it. So down at the bottom of the screen, there's those 2 buttons again. So if I click the print button, it's going to say, okay, you've got 3 listings picked. Now, what do you want to do with what reports do you want to print? Well, maybe you want a full report for yourself, and in that full report, you want to include the listing, the property history, the photos, and any open house information. That all prints out for you. If you're printing a client full report, as an example, notice it doesn't print all that information out, right? So, you look at it in 2 sides. As an agent, you get more information. So if you want to print out both of those, by the way, hold the control key down, and you can print out the agent full and the client full, and maybe you want to throw a map in there too. Again, that's up to you as you move forward. Use the control or the command key to print out multiple reports. Now, remember earlier when I was talking about those headers that you can put on your portal and also when you print, that was, remember, under Matrix and Settings. If you want that header to appear on your printouts, check the box. And then when you click Print, it's going to print out that header. In fact, it's going to look like this. Here's a print preview. There's that pretty header. Here's my first, second, and third customer report. There's a print up button down on the bottom of the screen. If you don't want that header to print out, simply uncheck the box, and then when you preview it and print it, hence there is no header. But a lot of times you want to have that extra bit of branding in there. So if you check that box, that will go ahead and do that for you. Click print, that goes to your printer. Whatever happens next is between you and your printer. Again, you can preview before you print, which I recommend you do. You can also print to a PDF file. That's going to take those 3 listings and that header and convert them into a PDF document. Here's page 1, here's page 2, here's page 3. What can you do with that? You can print from right there if you want to. You can also save that file to your desktop, open up your own email program, Outlook, Gmail, Yahoo, whatever you use, and then use that attachment as a way to send that email using your own email program. You have to click on the little paper clip, they open it up, it's a PDF file, and it is sent as an attachment. So you would save it somewhere, and then you would have to browse for that in your email, just like you send any other attachment today. If you want to, instead of sending an attachment, you want to send a link to the PDF file, which doesn't have the little paper clip, it has a link in the message. Click here. Who's it going to? Subject line, email body, and what's going to happen is they're going to open up their email, and in their email, in the body of the message, we'll have a link which they click on, which will open up that listing or listings in a PDF file, not using an attachment because an attachment uses your own email program. This uses Matrix's email program. And remember a couple of things. We did bring over all your contacts. So if you start typing in a name, we have you kind of auto search for your contacts, so you don't have to go ahead and do that. You can also go to the to option and pick from the list, which allows you to CC and DCC. And of course, you can also blind carbon copy yourself of all these messages that you send. Remember blind carbon copy? You get it, they don't know you got it. And it tells you what report is actually going to be sent. And notice your cool email signature down on the bottom of the screen. Who's it going to? What do you want to say? Click send, and you're done. That's kind of the old school way of doing things, and here's what I mean by that. If you send a client report and make it into a PDF file, it is just that. It's like handing them a piece of paper, but you're doing it electronically. There's no interaction with it at all. If you email them a link to a PDF file, again, it's like handing them the piece of paper through email. There's no interaction at all. That may be all you need. But there is one other way to make things more interactive, and that includes the client portal, which you see here. So I'm going to kind of repeat the same procedure. I'm going to go, and this time, instead of going under print, I'm going to use the isolated email button over here. The thing to remember is just when you see the email button all by itself, email equals portal. Email equals portal. So when you use this button, it's going to turn it into the portal. If you go to print and use the button down at the bottom of the screen, it's going to turn it into a PDF file, no portal. Print is no portal. Email is going to equal portal. So it's the same procedure. Who's it going to? Pick the person. Type in some kind of subject line. Type in something in the email signature. If you want to copy yourself, do that. And by the way, if this person is not a contact of yours, you can quickly add them as a contact by filling in their first name, their last name, and their email address or addresses separated with a comma, and you can make them a contact. Click send, and guess what? You just sent that email to that person using the email option, which then converts it to the client portal. So now let's step away from being an agent and go back into being the client. So I'm going to go back to this little test email here. Here's the email that I just sent. So now we're going in from the client view. So your client's going to open up their email. They're going to see the link that's created in there, except this is not a PDF file. This is going to actually open up the client portal, and now you can see those 3 properties inside of their portal. So it still sent the same information, except you got the branding benefit of it, and now it's interactive because they can click on an MLS number. They can click on the photos, which they can't do in a PDF file. They can click on a map showing where the property is located. They can click on the Google Street Views. So again, you see, and remember this one, add Google Street View. You want to change that before you put the property in a listing, right? Because here's the downfall right there already. And they can also take any virtual tours. Plus, they can rate the property as a favorite, possibility, or reject, which then they can store inside of their own little containers right here for future reference if they're not ready to make a move on it yet. Plus, they can also add notes that they can keep to themselves, or they can have seen by you, which then you can respond and collaborate with them in that respect. So again, it's just a matter of sending the information in a different way. And by the way, they do get all the reports that are client-centric. So they can choose the client view if they prefer that one. They can choose the thumbnail view if they prefer that one. Notice they all say client views. The one that I like the best is this one, because this one looks most like Z, or Zillow, if you will. It's got the thumbnails on the right, the map on the left. You know what? That's a real good one there because they're kind of sort of familiar with that if they've ever been, toying around on some of those other national sites out there. So now that you've sent them that information, they can rate them, they can categorize them, or if they just want to talk to you, they can simply check the ones they like, fire off a quick email to you. These are the properties they found. Here's the message. Click send, and that email just went to you, and then you're just going back and forth in a normal email transaction, if you will. So the benefit of it, it's interactive. It allows them to do some rating and categorizing and organizing, but it also makes the properties interactive where a standard PDF file is. Again, just that. It's a PDF file. There's not much you can do with it other than, looking at it, if you will. So that's what happens in the client portal within Matrix. And that's when you use the email option. The preferred way to do it, and now the nice thing about the portal is once you give them that portal, that's now kind of their tool to communicate with you and you to communicate with them moving forward. And again, don't think this is something that is going to require a lot of work on your part, because remember, the branding is up to you. No, 250 auto emails is the maximum number of emails that Matrix will allow to go out. That came up just as a question. That is a default setting behind the scenes to prevent any unnecessary strain on our server to make a better chart. Yeah, or to spam. So here is your portal. Now remember, the branding is up to you. We talked about that in settings, right? So once you do that, as soon as you send an email to a contact, Matrix creates the portal for them. So there's nothing you need to do except choose the email option on the bottom, and we've done everything else for you. It's kind of like a picture and a picture frame. The branding is the frame. The information below happens to be the picture, in this case, the listings that you're painting for them. The client can go ahead and they can take this and save it as a favorite. They can bookmark it. If they're using Internet Explorer, they can create a shortcut on their desktop to it, because from that point going forward, it's their little pseudo website that you share with them. So every time you send them something, they're going to get an email from you, which is going to remind them that there's something there, but that doesn't mean that they can't go back 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and revisit their portal anytime they want, because it's always going to be kept up with the most current information. It's going to be dynamic. Whenever they click on it, it's always going to show them what's there. So here's an email I sent, but let's go and assume that, hey, you know what, I just took this portal and I saved it as a favorite, and now 2 days later I click on that favorite or that bookmark. Well, just like when you go into Matrix and you go to the home page, Matrix portal has a home page also. So this is now going in just like when I go to Matrix and I click on home, that's my front door. This is the front door of the portal. Once again, your branding is visible. Remember back in settings, I told you how to put all this together right here, and you also have that portal greeting. So the top third of this page is the picture frame that you customize. The bottom 2/3 is the picture or the information that you're sharing with your client. So anytime you send them something, they still get an email, but those emails and reports are also saved here. So instead of going back to my Gmail account and looking for an email you sent me back on November 30th, I can just open it up right from here. That's pretty convenient, right? I can get that very quickly. Hey, if you sent me driving directions back on, November 30th, I can get them from right here because it remembers everything that you did. If I've categorized anything, here's my favorites, possibilities or rejects. I can go right to my favorite properties and see my favorite properties or my possibilities or my rejects, as you can see here. Anytime that I add a note, I can see it here. Anytime the agent responds back, you can see the collaboration or the banter back and forth. My client said, let's make an offer. I said, okay. My client said, would love to see it ASAP. I said, I'll call the listing agent today. So again, that's that collaboration back and forth, if you will. If you set up an auto email, you will notice that those auto emails, they get an email from you alerting them that there's a matching property or a price change, and they can then access that information right in their portal 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So these are those automated emails or those flashes, if you will. And then the biggest bang for the buck in the portal is your client now has the ability to go out and do a search on their own, just like they do on some of those big national portals. We give them a search form to work with. So let's say my client is looking for residential single-family homes priced $2 million or greater. As soon as they click search, they're running a live search against the database in the MLS. They're responding back with active properties in real time. And that's the key. It's real-time information. Just like when you go to Matrix and you press the search button, you expect to see properties that are currently available at that given second. When they go on your portal and do a search, they see properties that are available at that given second. So if they run a search now and see 8 properties and they come back tomorrow and run that same search again and there's 7, guess what? 1 went off the market. If there's 10, 2 additional ones came on the market. This is where the benefit of doing that comes into play, because sometimes those large portals out there that start with Z and R, they will claim that they're updated in real time or every 15 minutes. But if you've ever had a call from somebody that was on one of those national portals and they give you an address to a property and you look it up in MLS and it was sold 6 months ago, you will not have to worry about that here. And you're also, again, you're giving them the capability to search within your portal, which keeps the branding in front of them, so you are always the center of the transaction. Not like Z, which there's paid placement, right? It makes more sense. You're providing the same thing they're doing somewhere else in your portal, plus they got everything that you do with them in one nice, convenient package. Everything is stored here, including the ability to go out and do a search. I will tell you one thing. The portal is going to be enhanced as we move through this year. The portal is going to be a little more Zillow-like as we move forward, and it's going to contain more information on the property itself. It's going to contain more of the things that the people are going on these national portals are seeing. It's going to be much more robust. It's going to include a lot more information than what you see here. So just hold your breath for a little bit. It's a good product now. It's going to get extremely more consumer friendly as we move through the first half of this year. I promise you that. I've seen it already in action, and it's only going to be more Zillow-like, which will be just another way to keep people off of that program there. So again, that's the portal. And by the way, too, just in case you're wondering, if somebody goes to their portal and marks a favorite, a possibility, or reject, or creates a search, which, by the way, they can create it, save it, and name it so they can come back anytime they want to and look at it. Anytime somebody goes to their portal, you, as the agent, can go into Matrix. There happens to be a little widget on your homepage that tells you Spencer was in his portal at 2:32 today. And if you click on Spencer's name, you can go in and you can really kind of peel back the layers a little bit more. You can click on his name. You can see how many times he's been in his portal, 1224, 153, and 232 today. You can see if he's created any searches on his own. You can also go back and you can see exactly where he or she is looking, so they can't hide from you anymore. We also give you the ability to track every email that you've ever sent them, when it was sent, and most importantly, if and when that email was ever viewed. So you have a sent email folder for every client. You also have a return receipt timestamp over here. So it lets you weed out the tire kickers from the actual prospects a little bit better. And I got to that information by clicking on the name of the person who was in their portal. It brought me to their record, and then I just expand or collapse all of this information. If you just want to kind of see that information, maybe they're not using their portal and you want to go back and check, just go to My Matrix, go to Contacts, and then from there, just simply click on somebody's name and see, hey, I sent them an email. They never opened it. They got saved searches. Last time they were ran. They've got auto emails that are now expired because they were disabled by you. So you can get to that same information by going to My Matrix and Contacts and expanding and just looking at what's there. Or again, if they're using the portal, we'll tell you in this widget and click on their name and you can peel away the layers from there. One question that has come up recently also is about saved searches. When I talk about saved searches, I talk about searches that were ran, named, and saved. So it's a named search, maybe a farming search or something like that. In Matrix, the way that you do that is you simply go out and you run your search. So again, I'm going to go out and run a search again, and I'm going to go get my results. Once I come up with my results, I can come to the bottom of the screen and I can click Save, and I can go ahead and I can save that as a named search. So I can call this, BB and we'll call this Wednesday. Oops, let's make sure we get all that in there. So basically, I'm going in and just taking a search, saving it, and naming it, and I'm done. How do I find that search again? Go to My Matrix, go to My Saved Searches, and right here is the search that I just saved today. How do I open that search? Click on it. Change the settings, change the criteria, look at the results. That's as easy as that. So let's say this is a search you created for your client and they changed their mind the third time this week. Go to the criteria. Let's say, oh no, they were looking for $200,000 to $300,000. Okay, save it. Click Save again, and you just modified that search. And by the way, your search criteria is always going to be right here. Now, if you have a search that you want to create into an automated email in Matrix, the way that you do that is, remember, we brought over your contacts, we brought over your saved searches. So if you had a search that was tied to a contact in ML Exchange or Fusion, we brought over the name of the search, we brought over the person it was married to. That search is not on an automated run at this point in time. We brought them over, but we have you to turn them on. You have to turn them on yourself. It's a manual process. It's not hard, but we have to have you turn them on. So if you had any automated emails in Fusion or ML Exchange that were running the other day, they're not running anymore because that system is dead. So how do you take this and turn it into an automated email? Easy. You click on the search. You go to Settings. You make sure the search name, what they're looking for, and the person that you're going to send it to are tied together. So you see these two elements here. Done. Then you click on the link that says Turn this saved search into an automated email. Click there. Notice the required fields in yellow. The search, what they're looking for, the contact, who you're going to be sending these to, are the two pieces of the puzzle that are married together. Notice the subject line is a required field. You have to type in a subject line because that subject line is the name of the automated email they're going to click on right here. So whatever subject line you type there is what they're going to use to access those automated emails on their client portal. So you may want to say, hello, click here, or something like that. We've already taken the liberty to help you get this process started in Matrix. We've given you the messaging that we put out there. We're telling them they're going to be getting a portal. We're going to tell them how to access it. We're going to tell them what they can do with it as far as categorizing, viewing things on maps. We've already got this whole boilerplate thing down for you. If you don't like what we have put in there, feel free to put in your own words, or feel free to add to what we have done already. So really, again, there's only one thing I've had to do so far is type in a subject line. Everything else is done for you. The only thing you have to do is choose how often you want that auto email to send new listings, or because we don't have more than 250 because we don't allow spamming. So the scheduling is ASAP, daily, or monthly. By default, we have it to go out daily, once a day, 7 days a week. AM is 8 a.m. local time. PM is 6 p.m. local time. So right now, it's set for daily. If I click Save, Matrix is going to be searching 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, based on whatever search criteria that you and your buyer have agreed upon. And if it finds a match or it finds a price change, it's going to hold it and it's going to release it on the schedule that you pick. So in this case, if it finds something, it'll get it to them at 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning. If I check the PM box and I save it, and there's a property that comes on the market or has a price change that falls into the parameters, it will let them know about that at 6 p.m. tonight instead of making them wait until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So the maximum number of times that if you have daily, they could get up to 2 emails a day if there is activity. If it's as soon as possible, they could get multiple emails a day. So if you think about how we set up auto emails in Fusion or ML Exchange, there was probably 12 steps to go through. In Matrix, all you have to do is find the search that you want to turn into an automated email, click on Settings, turn it into an auto email, type in the subject line, Make sure everything else is the way you want it and click Save. That's probably 8 steps less than what you had to do before. Once the automated email is set up, it will continue to run as long as your client is opening the emails that are being sent to them. So if they're clicking, we keep sending. Notice there's no time frame to say, oh, I want you to turn that off after 120 days, and then I have to go back in and refeed the meter. Matrix makes it a little more seamless for you. As long as they click and open the email, the process keeps running. If they don't open your email, we will send you a warning letting you know that they're not opening your email, and that if they don't open it, we're going to shut off the automated email, and that is a 30-day period. So if nobody opens an email for 30 days, we're going to send you 2 emails saying, hey, look, they're not opening it. You might want to contact them, find out why. We'll send you another email saying they're still not opening it. You may want to contact them. And if they still don't open it for 30 days, the automated process will disable itself. And of course, you can back and re-enable it again. If they, say, oh, I was out of the country for 2 months, didn't get any emails on purpose, hey, that's cool. But because of anti-spamming laws, as long as they're clicking, we'll keep sending. When they stop clicking, we stop sending. So it's a much more seamless process for you. We do alert you when things are going to happen and give you the chance to reach out to that person. It's really a simpler process than what you had before. Now, we do offer a video for that too. If you go under the video tutorials, we've got a video called Matrix Quick Tip, how to take a saved search and turn it into an auto email. It's about 1 minute, 9 seconds long. It'll walk you through how to take one of those saved searches that were brought over from Fusion and ML Exchange and flip the switch like I just did and turn it into an automated email. It's 1 minute and 9 seconds long, by the way. And by the way, there's also a video on the client portal you may want to watch. There's also a video on searching that you may want to watch also. Real quick, I don't have a lot of time to cover a CMA, but I'm going to kind of give you a brief overview of how I think is a better way to do it. Basically, more and more people today are not doing the full 18-page CMA in a binder, if you will. They're kind of looking for numbers. You're working with a seller, your goal is to get that listing, and in the process of that, you're going to do an analysis. You're going to come up with a price point based on your knowledge and your experience of the properties similar to theirs that are currently active and properties that have closed or sold that were similar in the past, 6 months or whatever number you want to use. So let's just say that I've done that search, and here's what I came up with. Again, however you do your CMA searches, whatever special sauce you do, here's what you can do with that information. Let's say that I came up with a couple of active properties here similar to the property that I'm going to list. This is my competition, and here are properties that have sold in the past 6 months that are similar to the property that I'm going to list, that buyers are willing to pay and lenders are willing to lend the money for. So let's say I came up with a couple actives and let's say I came up with 3 sold properties. The easiest way to come up with a price point is to do a quick CMA. Click Quick CMA, and we will take those numbers and we will convert them into a quick CMA for you. We'll take your actives, we'll give you the median, minimum, maximum, and average. We'll take your solds, give you the median, minimum, maximum, and average, and we'll give you some quick stats. We'll tell you for your competition, the average price is $513, $560, and for recent sales, $559 even. So now you've got some numbers to work with here, if you will. So that's a real quick way to do a CMA. All we're doing is taking the comps that you picked and crunching the numbers for you and giving you the median, maximum, average, and high, low, medium, and average, if you will. So you can do that very quickly using the quick CMA. You can also go to the print option and notice you have a quick CMA there also. It does the same exact thing. It's easier, though, from the bar in the front page. But if you want to enhance that quick CMA, you may want to use the side-by-side report, and now you can complement those numbers with a side-by-side report. So here's what you get. You get the same information that you had before. So you're going to see the same side-by-side or the same CMA report that you saw before. But then you can complement it with your 3-up reports. So now you've got some visual information that you can use in addition to the numbers. And you may want to, you know what, I kind of call this the CMA plus, if you will. The quick CMA is just the numbers. The quick CMA with the side-by-side is kind of the quick CMA plus. And you know what? You may want to throw a map in there too. Now you can really have a CMA that contains multiple pieces of the puzzle. So it's going to go ahead and it's going to generate that report for you, and it's going to give you a map showing you where all the properties are located. It's then going to give you those statistics, and it's going to give you the side-by-sides. Quick CMA plus plus. That's the way that I would do it because I'm looking for a number. I'm looking for a visual comparison. Maybe I don't need to have all those fluff reports into there. That's okay. But if you need them, CMA will allow you to create a full comprehensive CMA where you can make pricing adjustments and you can add in your own pages and reorder your own little booklet, if you will. We do have a video on that for the sake of time today. We do have a CMA video. It's about 11 minutes long. It'll walk you through the steps of creating a CMA in Matrix. So pretty easy to use from there. And 2 things that I want to close with today. One of those is the speed bar, which you see across the top of the page right here. People have asked, where can I do a quick search on a number or an address? Well, the best place to do that is this little bar across the top of the page. So if I come to this little bar and I type in an address, I hit enter. There's how I do an address lookup right there. Type the address in, and you're done. You get the current property that's active, and you also get the fact that this property was sold back in 2007, if you look way over on the right-hand side of the screen. From there, you can click it, you can print it, you can email it, you can get driving directions to it if you want to, all of these things down on the bottom of the screen. That's the quickest way to do an address lookup. Now, of course, 270, 280, you can also do an MLS number lookup. Type in the number, and there's your MLS number lookup. Put a comma between it, do multiple numbers if you need to. Now, if you want to look up an address but you're not sure of the actual name, you can use a wildcard. So if I type in Wood, and I'm looking for a property on Wood, but I don't know if it's Woodlawn or Wooddale or whatever, put the little star after it. Then it'll find everything that starts with Wood. Wood Creek, Woodside, Wooded Road, Woodsley, Woodland, Woodland, Woodland. So the little star is what we call a wild card, and that helps you find what you don't know after the fact. Now, those wild cards are a little bit different because that's how Matrix works. So where can you find all those little cheat sheets? If you go to the home page, you go to the news and alerts. We actually have a news and alert called the Wildcard Hot Cheat Sheet, and here you will see this is the operator that you used to use in ML Exchange and Fusion. Equals to, starts with. Remember starts with? Remember what I did? Wood star. This is how you used to do it. This is how you need to do it in Matrix. So the wildcards are the little stars or the exclamation mark or a combination of them. This is just a little cheat sheet right here. You may want to print this off, and if you're a Windows user, you can just right-click and print if you want to. And that's something that you can use as a guide moving forward. We also talk about, how to add prices, more than, less than, ranges, days back. This gives you all the things that you need. You can also search for remarks this way. If you're looking for a fixer-upper, type in fixer, and then type in the star or fix star or something like that. So that's how you use the wildcards. Just use that little cheat sheet, and that works in many different places. And by the way, this little speed bar here works really well on a mobile device because if you're looking for a property and you're on your smartphone, you can just tap in that little box, type in the address, tap in that little box, type in the MLS number versus having to go ahead and do a full-blown search out of there. By the way, the speed bar does some other things too. If you click on the question mark, it'll actually do some searches for you. You can do some simple searches by typing in property types, by typing in prices, bedrooms, bathrooms. You can look up agents and offices. Please visit this help screen and see what the speed bar can do. It can do some simple things for you, but they may make your life a little bit easier. especially on a mobile device. And then lastly, we had a couple of questions about IDX. So again, My Matrix, Settings, My Matrix, Settings. If you go into Settings, and let's say you've got a website and you want to create a little link on your website that allows them to search the MLS, you have to get that link. You can get that from Matrix. My Matrix, Settings, at the bottom of the screen, you see IDX. You simply go in here. You can type in a name. I just called mine J. You can type it whatever you want. You can create a form that lets them do search. You can create a link that lets them see your listings. You can create a link that lets customers do a map search. I'm going to use just a simple search at this point. Flip the IDX enabled radio button on. That will generate a link. Take that link, copy and paste it on the back of the button on your website that says search here. Give that link to your webmaster. He or she will know exactly what to do that. It is an iframe. You can even change the color to match your website. And when you do all that and you go to that link, basically when somebody goes search the MLS, here's what they see. They see a search form. They'll come in here, be able to search once again, pull up their price, whatever they're doing, and then they will be able to run a search and see the results similar to what you have here. So if we have some settings in our documentation. If you go back to our help screen and you go to our user manual, we do have a section on IDX in there. It's about 2 pages long. If you want to take those 2 pages out and print them out or give them to your webmaster and he or she can understand what they're supposed to do with that link, which they should do anyway, or you're just wanting to do that, you can go in there and you can find that information out. Again, My Matrix, Settings, down at the bottom of the screen, IDX configuration, enable the IDX, take the link, copy, paste it, and from there you will be able to go ahead and create the form, which I put in too much information, but that's how you create it, and it's just an iframe. If you know what that is, that's what it creates for you. Actually, if you just grab the little bit in between the quotes, that will do it if I'm not mistaken. So if I just grab here, copy this out, and open up another window, type it in here, I believe that will then, there you go, there it opens up the form for you there. So again, they'll know exactly what to do with that information as you do it from there. So that's how you do an IDX link. If you have your own website and you want to be able to do an MLS search, you can do that. Or better yet, just use the portal. That provides that same functionality to you, plus it gives the branding to you, and it also keeps everything in one place as far as any comments and transactions and anything you do with a client or customer is available here for you to move from there. So we're at about 2 minutes past the hour. Again, we talked about adding listings today. Check that off the box. We talked about user settings. Check that off the box. There's videos for both of those. Search, print, email, we talked about that. There's a searching video you can watch. Save searches and auto emails. We talked about how to save a search, how to turn it into an auto email. There's a video for that. Client portal, we talked about that. There's a video on that. We talked about the quick CMA. There's a video on the full CMA that you can watch if you need to. Gave you a little bit of information about the speed bar, how that works. That's that little bar across the top of the screen where you can look up a number or an address or an agent or do a search, if you will. And then we covered the IDX portion also. Again, just want you to make sure that you look at your listings, double check your listings, make sure the spellings of your current listings are correct. The cleaner that information is, the better it's going to be for everybody moving forward. So we have recorded this video. We're going to go ahead and as soon as it compiles, we'll have it posted for you. Remember, we do have another WebEx on Thursday, January 9th at 10 a.m. It's just a wash, rinse, and repeat of we done today. January 19th.
You said 9th.
19th. Okay, January 19th, I'm being told, which is if you're listening to this today, it's tomorrow. If you're listening to a recording, you're going, what am I talking about? So anyhow, I'm going to stop the recording now.